Hey guys, on today's episode, we have the executive director from Onsite, Lizzy. We talk a lot about struggles that happen over time and how they evolve and maybe how the healing doesn't look how we may have thought it would. We go through her leadership journey and we go through her leadership journey being a woman in the mental health space. So tune in, it's a good one. Welcome to Impacting Recovery Uncensored. I'm your host, Sarah Pritchard. This is a podcast where we dive deep into the real, uncensored truths about addiction, recovery, and everything in between. No sugarcoating, no judgment, just honest conversations that can help lift up the solution. So let's get started. Today, I'm super thrilled. Lizzy is here, executive director at Onsite. How are you?
I'm so good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm so glad that you came and joined us over here in Birmingham and made the trip. Yeah. Really, really exciting.
I'm excited to sit down and get to know you more.
Yes.
Because I think you and I have our paths have crossed. And there just feels like a kindred spirit. So selfishly, I'm just excited to have a conversation with you.
I know. Well, and that's what I was thinking when we were doing the meditation before. I don't know much about your story or the progression of your leadership journey and all that. And so I always love it when I come in here and I don't know the stories, because it's that much more just I get to learn as I'm sitting here. Whereas, when Adam's has been on, I'm so tell me about a, hard point in your life. And I'm I already know the answer to all these questions. So anyway, so I'm excited. To give listeners context, we first met when I was in Nashville and did a tour at Onsite. And then I went back a month later, or a few weeks
it was
later.
Weeks, yeah.
Because you were what are you doing April 3rd? And I was I don't know. Let me see. And so we did the Women's Leadership Conference, or retreat. Yep. And so that was really great. And then we saw each other in New York, and now you're here. So Birmingham. But yeah, your energy has just always been incredible from the start. So I'm super excited about this. So I thought we could explore a few different meaningful topics, and we'll kind of see where it goes. Okay. I know how our struggles evolve over time, and to talk about what that truly means to rise and why healing doesn't often look like the stories we've been told, and how that can kind of change. And eager to dive into your leadership journey because you're so powerful in the mental health space with that, and being a woman in leadership, and just personal experiences with trauma work, and then how that relates with your profession and the industry. And so we can dive into all that, none of it. We'll just see where it goes.
That sounds awesome to me. It's so weird to hear you say your leadership journey and I already told you I'm going to get emotional because I never thought I'd be sitting here.
Yeah.
In this place of getting to be the executive director of a place that helps so many people. I just feel humbled and honored every day.
Yeah.
To get to be in this position. So to hear you say it and reflect it back, it's just a moment of the tears are just happy and gratitude. And my hope is it's a testament to the long journey of work that you got to put into it to get somewhere. And so I just needed to name that. If hearing it, I'm getting emotional. And
so, tell us a little bit about your backstory, because you're I feel I could have never, never would have been in a leadership role. So, is there, a moment in your story where everything started to shift from being a kid or young and doing whatever you love to do? I know you love cheerleading.
I did.
And what that looked like, and then where the shift came in when trouble or problems started coming up.
Yeah. So growing up, I was just very athletic and loved sports. I did soccer. I did cheerleading. I did track. I was just a very active kid. Sorry, I'm a crier. I'm going to probably cry throughout this. Apologize to everybody out there. I have tried to lean into my emotions are my superpower these days. And I think it's what gives humans kind of that humanness gift. So I'm just going to lean into it. And if I cried
Me
this
too.
whole time, my bad. But so I've loved cheering. I love the athletic sport of it. I loved being in front of an audience. I was kind of a attention hoe growing up. I don't know if I'm allowed to say this on this, but I just really loved entertaining people. And my mom says I've always been like that.
Yeah. So I have to stop you because that I did competitive cheerleading.
So you get it.
Yes. It was like I was obsessed. It was the love of my life. And just like you're talking about the performing, all of it, I loved it. So
same. Okay. See, I knew we were kindred spirits in this like So the just the entertainment of it all and cheering people on, and I was just talking to our VP of clinical yesterday, Heather, and like I can be the cheerleader of Onsite. Like I love to cheer our staff on, and sometimes it's not the great timing. So she's like, cheerleader Lizzy needs to calm down today. I'm like, got it. So that was a really important part of my journey, and I think I started to see leadership qualities during that time. I got appointed captain. I was creating cheers and kind of helping lead the team or whatever. I think then, though, I didn't have a lot of self-awareness because, you're a teenager. And so maybe I did it really bumpy. Like I had the skill and the drive, but maybe I wasn't the best leader at that time because of my own story. Yeah. So anyways, fast forward to I went to college and I made the college cheerleading team at University of Louisville. And I crashed and burned like hard. And a lot of it was just life and trauma. And, everybody, I think, has some sort of, trauma story or just even life struggles. It doesn't have to be trauma. We've talked about this, where it's not just because this happened doesn't mean it's trauma. It's just life struggles for me. Parents got divorced. Mom was in recovery. Dad, I didn't get to see a lot every other weekend and Wednesdays. And so just a lot of that kind of caught up with me. Yeah. And then the just pressure to do and be perfect on the cheerleading squad, partner that with an eating disorder, a lot of codependency issues, misuse of, alcohol. It just crashed. Yeah. And so everything I felt like I knew about myself just went away. And so I then I went to a treatment center, got back on track, got a job, and fast forward to I started working for Miles, who's the owner of Onsite, as his assistant. So at that point, I kind of had let go of that leader part of me that I had started seeing twinklings of growing up. And then working for Miles, I was an assistant. I was like, this is me. Like I can help and push people forward and do all the things that need to be done to get their job done. So it never crossed my mind that I would then start to propel into a leadership position down the road. So this was never my purpose or journey. It was a really long, I hope that answers your question.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. And so what year or how old were you? Was it freshman year when all that went down? Yeah. And do you mind sharing? You don't have to go into a lot of detail, but just like certain life things that like caught up with you that maybe. But the reason I'm asking is just because I think, like you said, everyone has something. It may not be the most traumatic thing that an awful, or it could be life stuff, or it could be this and that. But stuff does catch up, and then you learn how to cope with how you know how to cope, whether it's substances, whether it's avoiding, whether it's throwing yourself into work. Whatever it is. And so what we try to do is just help people gain awareness around and like look at their own life experience of like, oh yeah, like my parents got divorced too, or this or that. And so did you know anything was going on with you, or were you just like so uncomfortable?
I was uncomfortable in my skin, for sure. It's like I never felt like grounded and solid in who I was. And the honest truth is a relationship was a big reason I crashed. Yeah. I was dependent on relationships with, the boyfriend at the time, or it was mostly boyfriends, and so that relationship was not healthy at all. But I kept trying to, like, if I could just have this relationship, if he could just love me, if this could just, I would be okay. And so when all of that, it never works out, it never, because I'm not a whole human. Exactly. So I'm trying to seek connection with, half of a human. And so when that crashed, everything kind of crashed. And I started I got, head case. Do you ever when you were cheering, did you ever get like in your head and you would have a skill and not be able to perform it?
A mental block is what I called it. Yep.
Just like the relationship crashed that I thought I needed. Mm-hmm. He was not the kindest human. Then I got mentally blocked and some skill that I lost. And so like everything, and then I just started drinking more and really kind of medicating with that to block those feelings of just self-worth, self-esteem. Like I just kind of hated myself.
Yeah.
And it all kind of stemmed around a relationship.
Well, and that that was similar experience with me of I identified myself of so much needing to be in a relationship. And I guess it's just what society, like you watch TV, you watch movies, the girl and guy get together and they run off and have a happily ever after. I just thought that's what you're supposed to do.
1,000,000%.
And so, and I always had this fear that like they're going to leave me. They're going to leave me. And so if I have that going on, I'm projecting that into the relationship. And so, yeah, of course they leave me because I'm acting out in fear and being this crazy person. And so, when my alcoholism really progressed, it was a relationship ended again. And it's like, how could he? Oh my gosh. And poor me. And I didn't know that it was my alcoholism. It wasn't the situation, and it was all the internal work I had to do. But yeah, I had a very similar experience with just identifying like needing that to be okay, and that makes if they love me, then I'm good enough, and that kind of stuff. And looking back, I didn't know that was going on.
Right. Yeah, of course not. Right. Like, we're not, like, aware of, like, wow, I should not need this relationship. Yeah. It's like, that's the coping skill, you know? Insecurely attached is typically how I've grown in this world. And so I'm looking for anything to attach to feel whole.
Yeah.
And so when I was able to go to treatment and start to really become aware of that need and that medicator, for lack of a better, I mean, I think we use everything to medicate at times. I use my phone regularly,
Yeah.
And start to see like, no, slow down. You've got to connect with Lizzy. What does Lizzy want? What is Lizzy like? Because it was very much like, well, he likes this, so I need to do that.
Yeah.
And this person like this, so, and so just kind of merging with the world. And I had to like pull back and start to love myself, which is so cliche and cheesy.
Yeah.
But it's kind of
it's because I would assume, or like from my experience and from talking to other people, like we lose ourselves. We lose who we are because we're trying to identify so much with the outer world or whatever that is. If it's my boyfriend, family, friends, my job, whatever it is. And then I don't know who Sarah is anymore. Yeah. And that's a problem.
It's a little bit of an issue. Yeah. And you said it perfectly. I think you start to lose yourself. You're really trying to find who that is outside of this. So, yeah.
So, how did you realize that what you were struggling with wasn't just behavior? It was like a deeper pattern. Was it when you had to go to treatment?
Yeah, gratefully. And I know the gratitude comes after the force to go.
Right.
My sweet family had a little intervention for me. It was so I woke up, so I dropped out of college, moved back to Kentucky, to Paducah, where I'm from, got a job, and just was trying to just survive at that point and just find some sort of normalcy after that crash. And my grandfather died, and I overslept through the funeral.
Aww.
And so I always felt really guilty about that. And my dad came and woke me up and got me out of the house and was like, so I made it to the burial. And then afterwards, we went to my grandmother's and they were all in there, and I walked in, and it was like this little mini intervention.
Yeah.
And they were like, we're worried. This is not okay. But the thing is, like, I did not do drugs. Like, this wasn't, I had drank some alcohol, but even then it was just this mental health struggle that I went through. And so they were all like, you're on drugs, right? And I'm like, I'm not. So the qualifier that they're intervening me on didn't work. And so I'm like, y'all are wrong. Like, that's not what I'm experiencing. So it was like this justification, like, they're wrong. That's not me. So I don't need to go. And so it did set a seed. It planted a seed. And then I would say maybe a month or two later, I was sitting in my apartment and realized I didn't really have any more friends. that like I had so focused on relationship and grasping and this guy and that guy or this that I kind of scared all my friends away.
Yeah.
And so I gratefully had my own aha moment of like, I don't know what this is. It's not drugs like my family thinks, but it's not okay. And I'm miserable and I'm feeling suicidal and all the things. So I reached out to my mom and I was like, okay, remember what you said? I think I'll do it. And so I got to go to treatment.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so then when you got out, that's when did you connect with Miles right after that?
So I went to treatment for about a year, did some, supportive living after, just got a job in the leasing industry where I was like leasing apartments and just kind of doing my thing. And then I went to this program that I was like, I want to go back there and maybe help. And see. So it was like 3 years after I had graduated, I went back, and Miles was the CEO at the time. And so I was looking just to do anything. I didn't really have, and I knew some friends there, and they were like, well, Miles has this role. Why don't you interview for his assistant? And I'm like, I mean, okay, I'm codependent. Yeah. I'd be a great assistant. And so I did, and we immediately hit it off, and I got the job. And so I was like, great, I'm an assistant. I can do this really, really well.
Yeah. And so at that point, do you feel, looking back, that you had worked through a lot of life things that had happened prior to you going to treatment? Like, did you feel like you're standing stronger?
Yeah, that's a good. So in treatment, I started to gain the awarenesses of the why.
Yeah.
Why do I feel this way? Why am I acting like this? Why do I feel the need to medicate with this behavior or this action? And so I did get some insights. I had an amazing team there, and I did get some insights of like, the whys of, my family of origin, my parents were divorced, this, that, and the other, to start to set the scene. But it was a start. It was not, that was 21 years ago, 22 years ago. There was still a lot to learn and I'm still learning today. Like I to think I have it all together is like hilarious, but it did luckily start to get me on this journey of like being curious, realizing my past is impacting me and is showing up in relationships, is showing up at jobs, is showing up in my life. So I can just continue to dig into it. But not overly attached to it, you know? It's like it'll reveal itself when it's time.
Right.
But the work's never done for me.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm so glad you say that, because I know for me, even just the simple example of me going to treatment for alcohol, it's like, okay, 30 days, I'm good. Never need to do anything again ever. Bye, everyone. And that was not the case. Like,
you're like, joke's on you. It actually just started.
Right. And, I didn't do anything after, so it didn't work. Drank again. Shocker. Yeah. But that's okay, because we all have to have our own experiences. And like you said, the aha moment and the surrender of like my life, I don't want it. I don't want to do this anymore. I'll do whatever. So I'm glad you mentioned that it's an ongoing thing. Yeah. Because it is like we get to continue to grow and we get to continue to seek and learn, and we may not have all the answers. And I know for me, I could feel overwhelmed because I don't know all the answers. It's like, we don't have to know all the answers. We just need to be open, and then we'll be shown what to do and what we need to know and all that.
And it's like, my growth never came from an easy place. It was always in the struggle. It was always in the challenge. It was always in this like, I call it liminal space of like, you're not where you want to be, but you're past where you were. And so you're just in this middle space, and that's where the true aha growth is, and it sucks. Yes. Like, it's not fun. Yeah. I'm not like, yay, another growth opportunity. Right. But then once you get past it, everything, like, just the learnings and I think that as a codependent, the best thing about it is like, I get to be a better mom and a better wife and a better friend and a better daughter and a better And so that kind of motivates me is like how I'm showing up, and what it's like to be on the other side of me. Yes. Is what motivates me to continue the work. Yeah. So, and I feel like the word codependent and codependency gets thrown around like so much. What, from your personal experience, like what did that look like for you when it was,
like, so people can be like, oh, maybe I do experience some of this.
Yeah.
And being on the other side of it and being
Well,
able to kind of, and I know it can go in and
I'd
out.
say I was on the other side of codependency.
But, being able to acknowledge it and be aware and grow in certain areas.
Yeah. I would love to say I'm on the other side of codependency, and I'm not. And I think this is like a place of like, I'm just accepting this part of me can be really beautiful. There's parts of it that I'm really good at my job. I'm mindful of others around me. I'm attuned to others' needs. So there's a lot of beauty in it. The problem with codependency for me is when I start to dismiss myself and I let that drive me and I lose myself. So again, we can go down the topic of balance with kids, but it's finding not the balance, but the integration of like using this codependency, which is like when you're, so dependent on someone else, their mood impacts you, what they're doing impacts you is the very like basic description that I would give it. Finding that, using it to support and grow, but then being mindful of yourself and not getting lost in the shuffle.
Yes.
So to me, I'm just going to have to learn to integrate my codependency. Sorry, I'm a talker.
No, I love it.
And I over-identify with it at times. And you heard it. Like I have literally said codependency multiple times because it is a strong part of my story. But I'm was sitting here with you, I'm having this aha moment of like, am I over-identifying with that right now? And like, that doesn't have to be who I am. I get really beautiful parts of it, but how do I start to say like, no, I'm just a really attuned human that needs to be mindful that I don't let others' energies and moods impact who my day or whatever. So,
oh my gosh, I love that.
Okay.
Yes. No, that's so beautifully put because it is like, we can be, if we're using codependent as the example, like we can be very unhealthy codependent relationships and show up very unhealthy in that way, or we can be, just like you said, attuned with reality and what's going on and not impacted so much by other people's moods and what they say and what they're doing and still be a deeply feeling, empathetic, compassionate human.
Yeah. It doesn't have to be one or the other.
Right.
It can be both.
Yes.
Which I think if we all can look at our stories in that way, and it's like instead of dismissing or trying to run away from it or overly identifying, I'm a child that grew up in an alcoholic home and has divorced parents, and that's just who I am. It's not who I am.
Yeah.
It was just what happened, and now like I get all of these beautiful gifts of learnings from that, you know?
And so that kind of makes me think of what we were talking about a little bit about trauma and this thing of like, okay, it happened to me, and I hate to use, this is lack of a better word, like victim mentality, because there are real victims. Victims are a thing.
Yep.
But on a sense of like, okay, this thing happened to me, and then am I going to stay in that space of this happened to me for the rest of my life? Or how am I going to get my power back because of what happened to me? And and on the flip side of that, like recovery can go really far into, for me, my 12-step recovery of like my mistakes, my faults, and completely disregarding somebody else's actions, which is good, but then sometimes I can take it too far, And so I think I would love to get your perspective on like the two coming together. Like we can still have things happen to us and it's not okay. And we can have mistakes and faults, and we can grow, and we can still be okay with something that happened to us. Like, how do we, I just get to your thoughts on that. Like, what do you think? Okay. Or do you think that's even possible?
That was a lot. So I think when I think about, I can over-identify as a victim. And yes, I have been victimized by situations in my life, 100%. That is, can be what trauma is. But the over-identification of a victim, so meaning I'm looking at life happening to me all the time. Everything is happening to me. I have no agency or resilience to make a different choice for myself. And so then my life view is very much like, this door closed in my safe. Well, see, the door fell on me because that's just what happens to, versus like, oh, that's funny, that door's broken.
Yeah.
And so I have had to, and this is, so staying in the victim mentality, I've gotten caught in that.
Mm-hmm.
And what I'm missing is like resilience and capacity to deal with life stresses and deal with feedback. I don't think he would mind me sharing this, but like Miles has been a really good teacher for that for me because, I was really good at what I did, but if I received any feedback about like a mistake, I would literally crumble and be like, oh, I'm terrible, and and just have this overreaction to something that wasn't necessary. So then he's like, well, I feel like I can't give you feedback. Like now I'm just stuck in this. How do I help you grow if you don't even have capacity to hear it? And so this next phase of like my professional journey and leadership has been like building capacity to not crumble when I maybe am not perfect, and perfection is also, I'm not going to over-identify with it, but also I can get caught in that of like, if I'm not here, and that's a little bit of the cheerleading story is like, I wasn't here anymore. So I just was like, screw it. I was going to, but I don't know if that's loud. You can X that out. And so that's kind of the mentality I just maintained. And so building this capacity of feedback and, finding the little gifts in life versus it happening to me and realizing I have that agency to make choice. So I don't know if that answered your questions, but that's kind of where I've been trying to grow even more.
Yeah, I love that because and something for me, and you kind of touched on it too, but like I can be sad and grateful at the same time.
Yeah.
Like and that kind of has been recently over the last few years, like, no, I can feel two things at once. And so, I can be sad or angry that something's happening, but I also can be really grateful that I got a really great hug from my 3-year-old this morning kind of thing. And so, and we had our clinical lead Kathleen on a few weeks ago on an episode, but we were talking about like stress and the brain and how to rewire the brain and all these things. And she was talking about, she's been talking about this for years with us, but like 3 good things and writing down like 3 good things that happen every day. And there's all these studies around it and just how much like gratitude really can make a difference, like a continual practice of gratitude, I guess. And that's been really helpful for me because I think just like you're saying, like all these different things that you're talking about and you're like, I don't want to over-identify too much. Like some days I may over-identify too much. 100%. And then some days I don't. And some days I feel very, even. And then some days I am so out of whack. And it's just, I feel like it's this continual growth of acknowledging it and being aware of it and that there is no balance, we talked about. And like, that's okay.
I had a friend, her name is Kate, and she's a therapist in Nashville, and she's just brilliant at what she does. And this will make me cry. But she said, like, she had recently learned, like, the true spiritual connection is when you stop judging yourself for everything and judging myself for over-identifying codependency for a moment and stop judging myself for feeling perfect. I love it. Yeah, like, hearing that, like, that is the true spiritual point. Yeah. Helps me be like, okay, like humans are imperfect and we are gonna do all the things, and it's like, but the judgment of it and the like harshness on ourselves is where we start to lose that connection with God and spirit. And I want to continue to grow that and develop that. And so it's just a daily practice of like, now I yelled at my kid this morning because I lost patience because I was hangry or whatever. Right. And it's like, oh, I'm a terrible mom. No, I had a moment. So guess what I did? It's not about the rip. It's about the repair.
Yes.
I went to him like, ugh, mommy shouldn't have acted that way, and it's like letting myself off the hook sometimes too. Yes. Is where we'll find that spiritual growth, I hope.
Yes. Yes. And I mean, that's so true. And like, I got emotional because I feel that too, the self-judgment. And it's just like, gosh, I could have done that better. I wish I would have done that better. Why did I do it this way? Da, 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 da. And it's like, we're trying our best. And this kind of leads into what we were talking about with this balance thing with being a mom, being in, working a leadership role. living life, trying to be healthy, doing all the things that life is, and how do we make all of that? How do we quote unquote balance it? Because I always say there is no balance.
I say bad news. There's no balance.
Yeah.
For me, there is no, okay, I work 9 to 5 and then I'm with my kids 5 to 9 or whenever they go. Like it just is not possible. Things happen to kids. I'm really trying hard not to cuss. I'm a cusser. Hope I've done okay. Sorry, everybody.
No, you're good.
Things happen to our kids during the day. Things happen at work at night. And so for me, it's integration. Mm-hmm. It's like, and I have an amazing team. I don't have to carry it all. Yeah. We can share the load. So if I need to be present for a kid moment, the team's got it. And if someone else needs to be present, I've got, so right. It's, again, this integration and trust and shared responsibility of community. Community keeps coming to my head because I just celebrated my 42nd birthday yesterday. And I am so surrounded by the most amazing women. And sometimes I say, I don't know what I did to deserve this. Mm-hmm. But they help me find that integration and that support. Like my kids are with one of my girlfriends right now for the day. So I can be here. And it's like, it is about integration of your work and your personal, but it's also finding the community to support it all. And we cannot do it alone. It is impossible. And recovery is not a singular experience. And, we say at Onsite, you heal in community. I mean, I think a lot of people say, I don't know if that's Onsite or, but like you heal in community. And so a lot of our groups are community-based because that kind of, I mean, you and I are having a connection moment where I'm crying and you're crying because it just feels so connected and healing.
Right.
So I don't even know what the question was, but
yes, I know. Well, and that's, and exactly talking about like the balance or whatever, lack thereof, because it is, and maybe, I don't know, it's probably across the board, but maybe with a little bit more emphasis on the mental health space or the substance abuse space. Like I don't know if it's more kind of like a 24/7 industry. There's not really, if there's a phone call, you got to take the phone call. And it's so funny when we were doing our little prep call with Harry, all three of us had kids in the background. We're like, okay, we're all in the same boat. They're all eating fruit, so we're good, Mm-hmm. Like it just is what it is. And you just have to roll with it. And that's something that I really have started to accept more probably over the last year, honestly, because I was so set in this way of like, when I'm at work, I'm at work. And when I'm home, I'm at home. And this and it just isn't like that. Like it's that was my mindset, but it hasn't been like that since Impact opened 5 years ago. So I don't know why I'm trying to, do the square peg round hole kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I love how you mentioned the community piece because so many people are struggling and dying inside and they think they're alone and they're not.
No. And I think the moment I felt, work, life is stress. There's just always going to be parts of stress. But the moment I felt the less stress is the moment I quit trying to box everything. And I would take the work call at night, let it be a work call, and then move on versus me being like, no, this is my kid time. Stop calling me. Like when I got in these rigid, like, this is this time. Everybody stop messing with me.
Right.
Is when I really started to feel more relaxed, less stressed. I was able to compartmentalize a little bit more of like, this is the call I'm on. I'm done with that call. Now I'm here.
Yeah.
And so kind of just letting that flow versus rigidity has been like the biggest help of being a mom, working in this industry,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. And it like simplifies it too.
Yeah.
It just
takes the pressure off.
Yes. And it's just
bit.
like this task, like you said, I can't even say the word.
Yeah,
there you go. Instead of looking at this like big picture thing. So I think that's really helpful. And so I guess, something that kind of came to me when I was driving over here, I told you I was listening to another podcast and they were talking about like showing up as your authentic self and like being in leadership and all of that. So we had the episode that just came out this week was with Todd Stumbo from, Todd.
I love Todd, yeah.
So he was talking about how like he is, I'm totally paraphrasing, but he's a creator and a creative. And essentially, like, it doesn't matter if he's in like building a treatment center or like whatever industry, like that's just where God put him. But that for him to be his true authentic self as a creative, because he wanted to be, I guess he wanted to be a professional baseball player, and that didn't happen. And then it's like finding a way, the things that we like or that were in our dreams, to incorporate it in real life now. And so do you have experience with that, with like, I know, I'm sure, as most of us do, something as, you know, as much as you love cheerleading, you probably identified a lot with that as like who you were. Like, I'm a cheerleader, I'm an athlete. So have you seen throughout your recovery and just career path of like maybe where you weren't, and then how that's shown up and where you've grown in areas?
Yes. So I agree with Todd. It's like the minute I can just lean into that authentic part of me is when I really start to grow and shine. And when I try to pretend, or I was even thinking about this podcast, and I was sharing with Janet, who's the CEO of Onsite, who I just
She's
adore.
amazing.
Isn't she the best?
Oh my gosh.
I adore
love her.
I was just like, like, am I going to sound like an expert? And I'm not. I'm an expert of nothing. And, you know, all the things. And it was like, that's not the point.
Yeah.
Like, people will hear you when you're just real. And that has been, and it's like, I forget that. But like, when I lean into just who I am, I'm kind of weird. I'm quirky. I'm playful. I cry. I love humans. I love connection. I make mistakes. Like, when I lean into these parts of me, that is when I feel like people... I feel like I'm a better leader, and a better mom, and a better wife. And when I try to like create a different version of myself, because I think that's what the world wants and needs. Like, I have being the executive director at Onsite still makes me cry, because, you know, you said it again, like, I never thought I would be in this role. I've never set out to be like, I want to do this. And so being in this role is really overwhelming at times. And so then I get into this place where I need to know this, and I need to act this way, and I need to be more professional, and I need to be able to da-da-da. And that's when I start to bump into trouble. When I just lean into Lizzy and like the gifts that I do have of like cheering people on and hopefully making them feel empowered to do what they do best, and being playful and letting people have fun at work and building culture, that's when I thrive. And so it's just like, and it looks different for everybody. I can, you know, I put Janet on a pedestal. I put Miles on a pedestal. You know, I put other people, and it's like, I'll look at them and be like, I could never be that. Well, of course not. I'm not them.
Right.
So it's like, how do I be Lizzy? And I can still be in the same role or accomplish the same things. I'm not there yet, just to be transparent. So like, I know it, but I'm still kind of trying to rise to that. It's hard.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Well, and I'm glad you brought that up, because it made me think of the first time I got asked to tell my story in recovery. And I was talking to my sponsor, and I'm like, I don't know what to say. Like, what did you say here? And what did you say there? And da-da-da. And how about this? And she was like, Sarah, we don't need another Lindsay. We just need Sarah. And so that was like... You know, because I'm like, and I was like, oh, this speaker said this, and how can I? And she's like, just share your experience. Like, that's all it is, because your experience is going to help somebody, and it's not up to you who it helps or how it helps them. And so that is so important, because especially when we're around people that we look up to, and they're so great and amazing, it's like, and it's like, no, I could never do that. But maybe I don't have to. Maybe I'm not supposed to. You know, like Adams and I, we're polar opposite with things and how we show up in certain situations. And like, that's good. Like, we need the differences. Like, I'm not supposed to be an Adams. He doesn't need to be a Sarah. Like, so I'm glad you mentioned that, because it's all about showing up as our authentic self. Because if we do, then that's when we can be... If we do that, that's when we can be most effective.
And most effective and the best versions.
Yeah.
This is a little embarrassing to share, but like, speaking of just feeling like, oh, I'm not that human, you know, I have a colleague, Amelia, and we have grown up to Onsite together, we say. We've been together, you know, at Onsite on the journey for, I don't know, 15, 16 years, a long time. And there became a moment where it's like she shows up very differently than me. And so I, and maybe she, would feel somewhat competitive, because we're running parallel processes. We're both working. Unfortunately, society can sometimes, or my own trauma story can create that, like, need to compete or feel like, am I better? It's like, am I better or less than?
Yeah.
You can't be like different or equal and so.
Certainly never could be equal.
Never. And so there's just been this really healing shift with her and I's relationship where it's like, no, together we're actually really badass.
Yeah.
Because she has some strengths that I really admire, but I have some strengths that she admire. And so finding this like honoring of each other versus feeling like less than or greater than in areas has also helped, because she's the executive director of Milestones. And so it's helped us like run this company together and just pull on each other's strengths, versus feeling threatened by it. And it's a little embarrassing to say, but it happens, and I feel like it happens a lot in this world. And so again,
it's not embarrassing at all. It's just it's refreshing that you're being so open and honest about it, because there's not a lot of people that are gonna be like, oh, my coworker, we are side by side and we compete all, or not that you do, but just to share.
There was a feel of it for sure. And and we even talk about this. We're like, it's just such a beautiful like merge back together of just growing up. Yeah, continuing. We both do our work all the time, and being able to finally get in a place where it's like that's where we are. That's what's important.
Yeah, for sure. So, well, maybe this is a good time to share. I probably should have done this at the beginning, like about what Onsite is, if nobody knows what Onsite is, because it's such an amazing place and just very, very special. So maybe just share a little on that so listeners can know about that resource, if you don't mind.
I would love to. This is way more, comfortable than all the vulnerable stuff I just shared. No. So Onsite, we do a lot of different things, but at the core of what we do and where we've been around since 1978 is we offer week-long kind of workshops. Mm-hmm. And so you get to come to our facility for a week, check in. We house you. We feed you. We offer pretty intensive, guided, facilitated processes where you can start to connect the dots, kind of like you and I've talked about. Like start to identify, okay, I grew up in this family system. What does that mean today? Where is that showing up in my personal life, my work life, my relationships, my self-worth, self-esteem, medicators? Take a moment to look at, where am I medicating? What am I avoiding? Yeah. Where's the stemming from that? What else? Inner child work, doing a lot of inner child work. For those that don't know, it's just like connecting with that part of ourself we left behind. And just really starting to nurture that parts of ourselves. Trauma, we work with trauma, codependency.
Well, and one thing that I really liked, one of the little activities that we did was the family of origin kind of thing of like showing. And what I realized is I don't know a lot about my family, of like maybe the traumas or the whatever happened. And so that was interesting of just like putting, grandparents and then what they went through and then family or, parents and uncles and aunts and just all that kind of stuff was, I never looked at it like that. And so that was really cool. But then I was also like, I don't know a lot about this. And especially for me in recovery from alcoholism, I've talked to my parents about this and I'm like, is there anyone else? And I think it was my mom. Like maybe there's like a great uncle somewhere that maybe, had something going on, but people just didn't really talk about it. And so in my eyes, it's like I'm the first one, And I'm sure there's other in there. Like I had there's some like second, third cousins, I think. But so it's just like interesting. Like I really liked that exercise because it's like, okay, this makes sense on how everything can like be trickled down and where I come from and why I show up in ways in situations that are different than how, a friend shows up in situations because she has a totally different family dynamic. So that was really neat for me. I mean, there was obviously a lot of stuff that was incredible, and the sense of community and like the healing process of being in a group setting and seeing someone do their own work and then totally identifying and like it was just like the coolest, best thing. And it's such a great place and peaceful and amazing.
Properties made. The staff's amazing. Like, we have this philosophy called healing hospitality, and it's like how we don't think the group process or the individual process is the only part of the healing. It's everything else. When you walk into your room, the first staff person you see, the culinary serving you, all of us can impact your story or impact your journey in a positive way. And we want people to feel taken care of, loved, seen, valued. Like, a lot of people that come to us don't feel that. And we have a collective responsibility at Onsite. It's not just the, our guides, as we call them, in the group doing that. We all have a collective responsibility to help our guests feel seen, heard, and valued. And so that is just like this whole, culture that we want to build at Onsite. Plus, we've got like some fun animals. We're on a farm. There's horses, cows, pigs. There's no cows. I'm sorry. There's goats, pigs. I lied about the cows. Dogs, cat. So yeah, our hope is like building just a full service place where you can just take a deep breath and work on what you need to work on.
Yeah. Okay, so I have a question. Was it hard? And I know you've been doing the women leadership every year, or pretty much. You said
we had a pause for a little bit. Yeah, but mostly.
But a lot of them.
Yeah,
many years.
Yeah.
Is it hard to detach? Because like when you do the women's retreat, you're essentially like a client, or I don't know what the resident, whatever you call it. Is it hard to detach as an Onsite employee moving into like leaning into the work?
It used to be.
Yeah.
It used to be. I'll say that. Like, for years, I did struggle with, like, feeling, like, responsible for everybody, but then also wanting to just kind of have a moment for myself. I will say this year, I did not feel that. I really felt that I could just show up and be me, and I am grateful for that kind of, like, gift of growth. Because I feel like it goes back to what we've been talking about, which is, finding that integration. It's like, I want to show up, just be with the women, be in the group, be a part of them, and I work there.
Yeah.
So someone's going to ask me a question, and that's okay. And it's like, I don't have to be like, I've got to be here, not there,
Yeah.
And I really found this flow of integration. It just seems like a theme and thread through this whole chat we've had.
Yeah.
That's where I'm really finding some great just happiness and contentment in my life with everything. I got a lot going on, but I feel really grateful and happy.
Yes. No, I love that. It's like, you can have your time, but if somebody is like, where's the Advil? You can tell them where the Advil is.
Then I have to rock my day.
Right. Yes. So what are some like daily practices or, that keep you grounded and honest with yourself and with work? Like, what are some things
So this is funny. The minute you said it, I was like, oh, should I go through the list I should be doing? Because I should myself all the time.
Yes.
So we'll talk about what I am doing. So
well, and then we can share about things that could help both of us probably.
I know. I've had some really good awarenesses around some new things I need to incorporate. But for me, daily movement practice is really important. And this has been a struggle. I've got small children. This is newer. For probably the past year and a half, I've been doing Pilates, and I've just found in my 40s that's the right practice for me and my body, and walking. Again, coming from extreme sports where you just drill your body, I thought movement was like running and hardcore CrossFit, and I found this beautiful practice where it's like I can move my body, find strength, and still take care of myself, So that's been really important. And just the daily practice of being mindful of like when I'm in conversation or relationships of like self-aware. I don't know, like circling back with people.
Yeah.
Like I sometimes can go overboard and overly obsessed about conversation, like or over-own. But like with my husband, I have the most patient, loving husband. I can be the wild card sometimes where I can get big or get wild or get mad or frustrated, And so just the daily practice of circling back with my loved ones and being like, okay, I didn't love how I acted in this way.
Yeah.
I'm going to do better.
Right.
Eating normally is really important. I mean, I hate to, it's like back to the basics sometimes with me when you have so much going on, just to back to the basics.
Yes.
And being with friends. I get so much life out of the women in my relationship in my life.
Yeah.
And I've got some guy friends, of course, too, but like I just get so much life for that. So I don't know that I have like any groundbreaking practices other than just knowing what fuels me and keeps me going and makes me happy. Playing with my kids, jumping on the trampoline.
Yeah.
I'm real playful. I'm real silly. I don't try to take life too seriously.
Yes.
That's all important. And I should be doing meditation for my little squirrel brain that goes on all the time, and some other things. But yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's very important because it's like we're searching for the groundbreaking thing that's going to fix us. And it is the simple stuff. Exercise. When I eat well, I am more well.
Yeah, you feel better.
Yes, I do.
It's not one size fits all.
Right.
Like sometimes I journal because that's what I need to do. The
Yes.
thoughts are so overwhelming. That's how I get it out. Sometimes I don't.
Yeah.
Sometimes I do find a moment to sit in the quiet. Sometimes I don't. So,
Right.
So I know it works, and I have a whole tool belt that I can pull on whenever I feel that I need it, So I try not to like overwhelm myself with all the shoulds.
Yes.
Too much.
Yes. I agree. I'm with you. Because I do like morning time, and that looks different. And it's a certain, like, it's not the same time every morning. Like this morning, I sit down to start my meditation, and immediately my 3-year-old walks in. It's just like, so it is what it is. Okay, so if someone listening right now is like, what would you say to someone that's listening if they're like barely holding on and like would need help? Like what, maybe thinking back of you and your experience, like what advice would you give them?
I think one thing that's really helped me and just like growth is, and it's the hardest practice ever, but it's just being really transparent and vulnerable with where I am, and then reaching out for help and saying it to a human.
Yeah.
So saying it to a trusted friend, coworker, parent, whoever is the safe person in your life, like learning to say like, I had this crazy thought today, and trusting them to not judge it and just be with it. Getting rid of the crazy thoughts that I have. I have a lot of them. Everybody does.
Yeah. And
it takes away the power. And I think if you're kind of in this hopeless spin, it's like find the human where you can just say the things. It doesn't mean, I don't know, it doesn't have to mean anything. It doesn't have to go anywhere, but it's just like getting them out has been a huge, I'm grateful that I'm able to do that because I know not everybody can. Some people are so scared and fearful of like what that means. And that has really saved me.
Yes. Yeah. I love that because it is. Sometimes it's just like, there's nothing that needs to be done. Just like you said, getting it out takes the weight off of just saying it out loud. And then sometimes I say it out loud and I'm like, that's ridiculous. And it's gone.
Like, oh, I'm done. Yeah, our thoughts have so much power. I got to sit through this presentation of this guy that's going to do some work at Onsite, and he has a whole talk about just like the power of words and like what we're saying to ourselves and what we're repeating and how that's genuinely impacting our makeup. I mean, this movie a long time ago, What the Bleep Do We Know? Did you ever see that? Oh my God, it's so good. Anyways, it's like that idea of like, they did a study on saying negative words to water and saying positive words to water and then freezing it, and the beauty and the ugliness that the ice crystals create. Anyways, I'm not doing it justice.
No, that's crazy.
You should go look it up. But what it taught me is like, our words matter, and what we're saying to us matter. And if we can just shift our words either inward or outward, like it will change the makeup of our whole body,
Yeah.
So I really try to hold on to that and remember that when I get in the negative spins.
Yeah. I love that. Well, is there anything else that you wanted to add or share on?
No, I'm just so grateful to get to sit with you. Like I said, and I don't think they got to hear it, but like I think you just have such a beautiful way of being present with people. You're just so like kind and welcoming and inclusive. And I was really excited. I think you're a woman in this industry that people need to pay attention to. And just like what you're building down here. I know. Listen, I got to drag somebody else along with me in this. What you're building down in here in Birmingham and how you're showing up and like finding the mom and the amazing strength of a woman. So I'm just totally grateful for you even asking me to be on this. I had the thought of like, really? Me? Okay, I'll do it. But like, Yeah. I've done that word noise a lot. Sorry.
That's okay.
Like I said, I'm a little odd. But
Oh, it's great.
I just really appreciate you holding space and letting me share a part of myself. And like, I love your thought behind it. If one person is impacted, it's worth it. Mm-hmm. And I really think that you're doing that and kind of creating space for that. So thank you for that.
Yes, thank you. That's so sweet. And that's, I mean, just when I met you, I'm like, she's so great. Like, so yes, of course I would love to have you on here. So thank you so much for taking the time, because I know it's a lot, and logistics and all the things. So. But it was great.
Here.
Yes. All right. Well, thank you. And thank you for tuning in to another episode. I hope today's conversation has inspired you and opened your mind, maybe even your heart. But remember, you're not alone. If you found this episode helpful, please share it, like, subscribe. I'll have all the links below to our social and for Onsite about that. But until next time, keep making an impact. Bye, y'all.